We would like to thank everyone for their time today and their continued dedication to providing supports to all students with their behavior, social, emotional, and academic needs. This presentation will be going through an updated framework all high schools are working towards implementing called SUCCESS, or Students Understanding the Characteristics and Criteria to Ensure Skills for Success. SUCCESS is a multi-tiered system of support building off of the work you have already started with PBIS, RTI, and other supports, and will continue to braid in various other supports to ensure all students are able to reach their full potential. All schools are already providing a variety of supports to students. However, similar to having a bunch of bicycle parts, these parts cannot come together and work as they are intended. We need a framework to construct these supports within to efficiently support all students. Let's take a moment to look at some data of the freshman students you have in your buildings this year. Last year, these students were 8th grade students and had 11,136 office referrals, a 22% suspension rate, 1,127 students were suspended, 38% of referrals were from the learning environment, and 96 students were suspended for 10 or more days. Looking at these same students' STAR data from last year, we see that 80% of these students are performing below target in reading. These same students have 78% of students performing below target in math. Last year, in all high schools in Milwaukee Public Schools, there was an English 9 completion rate of 70%, English 10 had a 68% completion rate, Algebra had a 63% completion rate, Geometry had a 58% completion rate, Biology a 69% completion rate, Citizenship a 67% completion rate, and an overall core course completion rate of 68%. Take a moment and silently reflect on what reaction do you have to this data in terms of how students experience high school. This year, all Milwaukee Public High Schools are working on implementing SUCCESS, a multi-tiered system of support. You should have received a handout showing this graphic and some of the supports and interventions available to students at the various tiers. We will be rolling this out over time with various teams and staff members being trained in different elements of SUCCESS. The last few years, all high schools have been implementing the framework of PBIS to provide behavioral supports to all students. However, what we were finding that oftentimes this support alone was not enough and we needed to braid in more support. This year, we are looking to take PBIS and braid it with mental health supports, restorative practice supports, trauma-sensitive school supports, and other behavioral supports your schools are implementing. Here are some of the behavioral and social emotional supports we are looking to start with PBIS and continue to strengthen in SUCCESS. Relationship and community building, setting expectations, rules, and procedures, student input of expectations, rules, and procedures, redirection of negative behaviors, understanding behaviors have a function, listening wholeheartedly to students and to each other, restorative practices continuum, mindfulness, and other behavioral and social supports that your school is in need. We are looking to start small and build from there. So to start with behavioral supports, all students and staff members should build expectations and rules for all settings. You may have your PBIS expectations already created and you can for sure use these. This is also an opportunity for staff members to look at their expectations, rules, and procedures in the classroom and define what they are. They should be positively stated. Best practice is to have 3 to 5 per area. And staff members should work on redirection strategies and consequences of all negative behaviors. Staff members should also work on building relationships with all students and building a community within the classroom. Ask yourself, do all students have a connection to at least one adult in this building? Do all staff members get to know all of their students? Building up your behavioral and social emotional supports within success will need input from students and staff members. Schools are encouraged to create student groups to discuss behavior, supports, and next steps they need. Be sure to also talk to staff members and families to see what behaviors they are seeing and what supports they need. There should be a discussion of problem behaviors and classroom managed strategies to use with all of these negative behaviors. Schools should have a T-chart or discipline policy. We are encouraging all schools to take this out and update it as needed whenever there is a change in negative behaviors that they want to address. Teachers should also be monitoring students' attendance and providing attendance supports along the continuum that MPS has laid out. Take a moment and silently reflect on what role can you play in advancing an individual student's behavioral and social emotional growth. Within Success, there are also a few new academic supports and interventions we are rolling out to schools. These include universal screening of all 9th and 10th grade students, implementing the use of Khan Academy in math at Tier 1, students below benchmark receiving academic interventions on a regular basis, and the continued implementation of computer-based interventions including Achieve 3000 Boost, Khan Academy, ST Math, and Odyssey. Academic supports start at Tier 1 with all staff members. All staff members should be viewing student data using the teacher dashboard. There's a lot of data there that can give you information on the student's academic growth and history. There is individual student STAR data, ACT Aspire data, and other data sources. All staff members should work on meeting the needs of all students in class on a regular basis. This includes differentiation and providing more and more opportunities for all students to respond within the class setting. All high schools will also be providing math and reading interventions to students identified in need. Schools will be looking at ways to provide these intervention courses, including face-to-face classes or the use of a PBL lab. There will be continued use of computer-based interventions with these students, while also integrating teacher-led small group instruction based on specific skills. Schools will be screening all 9th and 10th grade students during the MPS screening windows, and will use Khan Academy at Tier 1, which can now be linked to their College Board results to create individualized learning paths. Each school has teams that work together and collaborate to support educating the whole child. There's the learning team, the PBIS team, and the building intervention team. The learning team focuses on all academic supports for all students. This is Tier 1. The PBIS team focuses on all behavioral and social emotional supports for all students. This includes the mental health supports, any elements of restorative practices continuum, trauma-sensitive schools, all being implemented at Tier 1. The building intervention team focuses on behavioral and academic interventions for identified students. This is the Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions. We are rolling out Success over time and are encouraging schools to continue working on their PBIS and RTI framework and expanding from there. We'll be offering some upcoming training, including a BIT academic training on intervention course programming, intervention teachers on best practices, PBIS team training on grading behavioral and social emotional supports, a BIT behavior training on a variety of behavioral interventions to offer students. Thank you for your time today and your continued dedication to supporting all students. At the conclusion of this video, please take a moment and with a shoulder partner talk about what reaction do you have to Success in terms of how students will experience high school on a day-to-day basis.